Welcome to another KeySmash Studios series. This series is going to be a tutorial on how to create a game in Unreal, and the theme will be an escape room. So the plan is for this to take about 5 videos, which will be 5 weeks, and within the videos we'll learn about different things such as importing models, the widgets that they have, which is their GUI system, the difference between blueprints and C++ and using both of them, player movement, inventory management, which Unreal allows you to use databases that they've created, which is a really nice feature, and then the different puzzles that we'll be creating. This will be part 1, obviously, and this will just be importing models, attaching materials to models, attaching images to the materials, placing and manipulating the models through the 3 different tools that they provide you, creating and changing the GUI, as well as transitioning between levels. Just to give you a rough idea of what the next weeks after that will be like, week 2, we'll be going over player movement, inventory creation, which will be through that database that I talked about, inventory manipulation, such as rotating through the inventory and then adding and removing items. Week 3 will be focused on a blacklight puzzle. It will be coding the blacklight and how it responds to the posters. So when the blacklight shines over it, the poster will change. Week 4 will be the statue puzzle. There will be a specific order for the statues to be placed onto a counter, and whenever they're placed in the correct position, the door will open. So I will be showing you how to create a rotation of the door as well. The final week will be adding a dot on the screen so the player can see exactly where they're pointing, as well as flickering a light, as there's no good escape room without Morse code. And then finally, there will be a button mechanic because you need a way to translate that Morse code that you've seen, and so the player will push the button in response to the flickering light. So to get started, we'll go ahead and hop over to Unreal and we'll create a project. We're going to be doing it in C++ because I personally prefer to do the coding portion and not the blueprints, but I've learned that there's some things where you need blueprints, so we'll do a little bit of that as well. And we'll just call this escape room. All right, now that Unreal's loaded, the first thing we're going to do is create folders so we can keep our project organized. This helps out a lot so you don't have to search through a bunch of stuff trying to find one specific thing. We're going to create a folder for our models and then have art as well inside that, materials. We're going to have one for our scenes, one for our scripts and blueprints, and then one for our GUI because those are called widgets in Unreal and they're also blueprints. So the first thing we're going to do is import our models. There's multiple ways to do it. The way I'm going to do it is just by dragging and dropping them in. There's also importing up at the top, but this just seems easiest to me. This will pop up. There's different things you can change. I personally just leave it all alone and click import all. This will only take a couple seconds, and then it all loads in. And then the next thing I do is I import all my art. If you download assets from the asset store or somewhere else, you probably won't need to do all this. It'll probably all be together and you can just import the whole packet. For this video, I made my own art, so all the models will be mediocre as well as the art. It's pretty simple as you can see, but it's solely for showing you how to create the back end of it and not the front end, the art of it. So the first thing we're going to want to do after this is we're going to want to create the materials for them. So we'll go one by one. I'll show you how to create one and then it'll just time lapse the rest so you don't have to watch 10 different things happening. So what you're going to want to do is attach the base color, which our base color will be the art that we brought in, and this will be a texture sample. And then you're also going to want to add a constant for the metallic of it and a constant for the roughness of it. All this is saying is how metallic, shiny it is and how rough it is. So you can click on it and adjust it to whatever you feel is fit. In a second, it'll load and show you the preview of what your material will look like. So as you can see, here's your material. This will be for the statues, which is just a simple ball. And this one happens to be blue. So that's the basis of creating a material using your art or your texture. So I'm going to go ahead and just power through these, cut the video, and finish out the rest of the materials and come back in a minute. Okay, now that all of the materials have our art attached, we're going to go back to models and we're going to do sort of the same thing, except we're going to attach the material that goes with it. With this one, this is our ball model, our ball statue. We're actually not going to add that because there will be the same model for 3 different colors. The black light, however, will always have black light material, so we'll attach it up here, and then any black light spawned into the scene will default to this material. I'm going to go ahead and do that for the rest of them, and then we'll move on to placing them. Alright, so now that all of our models have their material attached, we're going to go ahead and construct the room. So as probably most of you know, whenever you place an item in, you have 3 different tools. You have the translate tool, you have the rotate tool, and then you have a scale tool. So the first thing we're going to do is put in the building. And then we're going to add the items into the building. I already have a pre-designed structure for this. And this will probably just be time-lapsed for convenience.
From the same branch and leaves, wild and free, living here in harmony. Don't you see? This is where you want to be. When you leave, the world is never what it seems. If only we could travel back in time. Whoa.
Okay, now that the room is set up, we're going to go ahead and create the scenes. So this is obviously one scene. We'll save this and call this our main scene. And then we're going to put this into our scene folder. We'll go ahead and save. It'll save it there. But we also want a main menu. So we're going to go ahead and create a level, and we'll call it main menu. And that'll be our other scene. So we're going to start there. And we're going to go ahead and create the GUI for this scene. So you're going to go and find under user interface a widget blueprint, and we'll call this main menu. And we're going to actually have 4 different GUI setups. So we'll go ahead and create those as well. So our main menu is one, and then we'll eventually have an inventory one on the other scene. We'll also have a pause one, and then within the main menu, we'll also have an options one. And this is solely to show you how to change between different widgets. This is going to be really simple because I don't want to mess too much with the GUI system and the widgets, but I just want to show you how to utilize this so that way you can mess with it and learn on your own different ways to make it look prettier. So we're just going to be doing the most basic part of this, and we're just going to have 3 buttons in our main menu and a title. And with this, essentially, you just drag everything in, you place it where you want it. It's extremely simple, it's really nice. And we're going to be doing that for a play button, an options button, and a quit button. And then we're also going to drop a text by itself into here, and this will be our title. And we'll just move that to the center of the screen, make it bigger, and then adjust it so it looks the way we want it to look. We'll just call this Escape Room, and then we're going to center it, and then we're going to make the text bigger. And we'll do size 40. So when you want to create events with these buttons, you scroll down to the bottom after clicking on the button, and it'll show you the different type of events you can do. We're going to do an on-clicked event for our play button, and with our play button, we want it to transition us to a different scene. So to do that, you just find the open level function, you type in the scene name, which ours was main scene, and that'll be it for this button. So this is a blueprint, and essentially you just have blocks that are functions or blocks that are variables, and you connect them. This is the event that happens whenever you click on the button play, and this is the function that's called after the button is pushed. So we're going to be doing this for all the other buttons as well. So you go between the designer, which shows you what it'll look like, and the graph, which is your blueprint. So we'll scroll down for this one as well, do an on-clicked, and then for our options, we're going to go to the widget, and then we're going to find our options widget. We're going to add this to the viewpoint. And you want to make sure that you're adding this class of options widget to your viewpoint. And then we're going to go back to the designer and we'll do the quit. So for that, this is extremely simple. You just type in quit. And then you'll want this to go to your player controller. And then it'll be index 0 because we'll only have one player in this game. We'll go ahead and compile all that, and the nice thing about blueprints is they compile really quickly, whereas the C++ code, depending on your computer, can take a little bit of time. So that's our main menu widget. We're going to move on and go to our options widget. The options widget will be very simple as well. All it's going to have is a back button and then just a title that says options. I'm not really getting into this because this tutorial isn't so much about creating and utilizing widgets, and it's a very small portion of what I plan to talk about. So I'm just doing this quickly so you can get an idea of how it works. And then you do the same thing, you go down here, you click on click, and it takes you to your blueprint. And on this, you're just going to, again, switch back to the previous widget, which was our main menu widget. And then you'll add it to your viewpoint. So now if we were to click play, nothing happens. So one thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to go to your blueprints up here and find your level blueprint, because you need to say that this is the widget that I want to open on play. So we're going to do essentially what we did with the on-clicks of the options button, and we're just going to open the widget that we want, which in this case is the main menu widget. And all this is saying is once the scene starts up, when the level begins, we want that to open, and then we want to add it to our viewpoint. So now when we click play, it pops up. If we were to click options, oh, I forgot to do one thing. We need to make sure to remove the previous widgets. So we're just going to remove all widgets, so that way we don't have to worry about a widget being there whenever we open up a new one. We want all the previous ones to go away and the one that we want to open. And we'll just compile that. We'll go ahead and play again, try out our options. Now it works. And then we'll go ahead and click play, and it takes us to our scene. So now we'll go ahead and we'll do the pause widget just because it's simple as well. Within the pause widget, we're going to have 3 buttons, just as we did previously. And I'm actually going to just go ahead and take them from the main menu so I don't have to redo all of it. We're going to change the text of some of them. So here for play, we're already currently playing when we're paused, so we want to resume. And I don't want to bother with the options in this case from the pause screen of the game. So we're going to adjust this and have it as a menu. I want to be able to go back to the menu. Typically there's things at the menu that you want to deal with, and we want to do that here instead of just going to the options page. I'm going to leave quit, as a lot of times people want to quit from the game. You don't want to have to wait for the main menu to load, you just want to be able to get off. And we'll just add the word pause here, and then we'll make this bigger. And this will be our pause screen. Whoops. So we'll go and do the same thing that we did with the previous things. We'll do an on-click for this, except instead of play, what we want this to do is resume the game. So when we pause, we'll have set the game to pause. But now we want it to unpause. So this is just a Boolean that says the game is paused if it's checked, the game is not paused if it's unchecked. So all this will do when this is clicked is it'll unpause the game. But we also want the widget to go away. So we're going to do the same thing where we remove all widgets, because we want the pause screen to go away when we go back to the game. But then we want our other scene to come back. So now we're going to open a widget. And this widget's going to be our inventory, which we haven't created yet. And we're going to add it to our viewpoint. And all of this is happening when you click the resume button. It goes in order and does as you say. So we're going to go back to the designer and go to the menu button. And from the menu button, all we're going to do is open a new level. And this level will be the main menu. And then finally, we'll do the quit, which will be the same as what we previously had, and we'll just have quit game. And we'll get the player controller again. We'll save all that and we'll compile all that. And that's our pause screen. Now we're going to go ahead and go back to the main scene, because we want to do what we did with the previous one as well, but for this level. So when this level begins, we obviously want to open up our inventory widget. We want the player to be able to see that they have an inventory and kind of know what they're about to be doing. And then we want to add that to our viewpoint. Now we obviously haven't done the inventory system yet, or the GUI for it, so we'll go ahead and do the GUI for it, and as I said at the beginning of the video, the creation of it will be next week. So our inventory is going to also be fairly simple. For now, we're just going to have boxed images going around the bottom. And then we're going to have it going up on the side. For this video, we're only going to have 5 inventory slots, but we wouldn't even necessarily need that many. So this is just for a visual reference. Obviously, this doesn't do anything. It doesn't look like anything. It's just boxes in a corner, so that way we can kind of get a visual of what the inventory will look like later on down the road. So this is where our items would be when we collect them, where they'd go, and how you could traverse through them. So now what we also need to do is we need to go back to our level blueprint, and then we want to create a function for whenever we press the P button for pause. So now whenever you press P, this is going to do something. Something we want it to do is obviously pause the game. So we go back to the set game pause. This time we leave it true. And then after this, we also want it to open up the widget. But again, we want it to remove the inventory widget. So we go ahead and remove all widgets. And then we create our widget. And this widget will be our pause menu. And then we add that to our viewpoint. And then make sure to set your target. And this is our main scene blueprint. So the last thing that we're going to do today is I'm going to show you how you can decide which scene you start with, because the computer doesn't know whether you want to start at the main menu or the main scene, and so you have to tell it. So you're going to go to Edit, you're going to go to Project Settings. Once that loads, you go to Maps and Modes, and then right here with the default maps, it tells you, or you can tell it where you want the map to start. You can have it start differently in editor mode. For instance, we're probably not going to want to edit the main menu when we're editing our game, so we'll have that start in main scene. But whenever the game starts, we want our users to start at the main menu. And that's all you do, and that tells the computer where you want it to start in both instances. And that's all you do. That tells the computer where you want to start. So that's the video for this week. Next week we'll do inventory. and character movement, as well as picking up and placing objects, because obviously it's pretty hard to have an escape room game if you can't pick up the objects around you. Thank you for watching and see you next week.